Welcome to Village in Motion this Thanksgiving Day, November 28th. I'm Clint Lambert, and it's my pleasure to be the host today of Village in Motion, and I have two of our resident council officers with me this morning. I have Betty Christman, who is our council president, and we welcome you, Betty. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
And I have Terrence Kuch, who is our council vice president with us, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. There's been a lot of things going on this year with the council, hasn't there?
Yes, there have. It's been a very, very busy year.
Okay. And Terrence had a lot to do with that this year.
I hope so.
Well,
Yes, he did.
You've been doing the listening post,
Yes, I
right?
do. The vice president does the listening post, which is 3 Wednesdays per month, except December,
Okay.
where we have a couple of tables and a couple of volunteers, and we line up and listen to whatever anybody wants to say. And for good or bad, and sometimes that's and very informative. Usually it's very informative.
And that information that you collect, what happens to it?
It gets sent to to Chandra and both of Melissa rather, as AED, and then the following day it goes to every chair and liaison, and of course Betty sees it first.
Okay. And then we hope something happens with it.
It does. The committees do discuss these, and they investigate if they feel it's appropriate and take whatever action and make recommendations.
Great.
So it's a very useful process.
That's great.
And it's great to see the residents involved
Yes.
in doing something that they just volunteered to stand up and say something.
Right. And it's nice that we get the feedback and know that there's going to be some actions taken to our comments. Because you take both positive and areas that need potential attention, right?
Yes. Yeah.
In regards to it. Very, very good. Well, we're glad you're doing that. Betty, you've been doing a lot of things, I understand.
Yes, a lot of meetings, which of course is just natural with the resident council. But we're doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today. Things that the residents may not be totally aware that we are doing. The one big thing that just completed was the Staff Appreciation Fund.
Right.
We had a goal of $295,000, which we achieved, and this money is divvied out between all of the hourly staff here on campus, and they are given a check. There's a formula that is worked, and I don't understand how this formula is, but they take their current salary, the number of years they've been with Greenspring, and they get a check right before Christmas.
Yes.
And these checks will be presented to the staff by their managers and by representatives from the council in December. And I tell you, it is so wonderful to see the happy faces of these residents when they open that check and see, you know, they've got extra money to spend on their kids or dinner or a vacation or whatever they want. And it's something we do annually, and I think it's a very, very good committee that we have that works on that.
Positive activity.
Yes, it's very, very
And
positive.
the check comes from corporate, right? It comes through their regular pay system.
Yes, yes, it does.
With the taxes and everything taken out.
Yeah, but it's not sent with their paycheck. It's a separate check that is sent down separately, and then it's given out to them.
Very good. And the date of that's going to be handed out, do you know the date?
I'm not exactly sure. It's towards the middle of December. I looked for those dates.
So in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks. But that will be, there will be notifications put out.
All right, sounds great. Very, very good. And then there's been some other things that you've done too.
Well, let me talk about things that I have done. Last year, when Peggy Kellers was president, we started something called Lunch with Chandra. And it has now been almost 2 years that we have done this. And what we do is I get names of residents to ask to this lunch from the council members, from, Terrence gives me names and whatnot. And, people we have had dinner with that may be brand new to Greenspring.
Right.
And we invite 10 to 12 individuals to come to lunch with Chandra.
Wonderful.
And this is on a Friday, once a month. and we meet in one of the private dining rooms. She picks up the tab for lunch, which is great. And we start out by introducing ourselves. And many of those residents that we select to invite, last month we had 2 couples that had been here less than 2 months. And then there are usually people that have been here 5 or 6 years, you know, somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And then sometimes we have people who've been here 16, 17 years.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's an interesting mix.
Right.
And we don't have any set discussions. We just start talking. And at the end of an hour and a half, we're usually not finished talking. So it's just a wonderful experience to see. And I know Chandra enjoys it. The residents enjoy it because most of them have not had any direct interface with her.
Right.
They may know who she is because they've seen her. But to sit and talk with her in those, you know, that small environment, I think is very, very beneficial. It gives the residents a chance to get to know her, to know how friendly and interested she is in what each resident is concerned with.
Right.
And as a result of these discussions and conversations, she has initiated a lot of things that have really, I think, are for the betterment here of the residents and for Green Spring
So they're really
itself.
beneficial for all of us then.
Yes, yeah.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
Very, very good.
So it's just wonderful. It really is. I truly enjoy that day.
Right.
Usually you don't get a chance to eat because you're so busy talking, but it is really, really fun.
Great.
It is.
Very, very good.
I think that's about all for that. We have also some special meetings that we do throughout the year. Quarterly, we meet with the Green Spring Board of Directors. That's Jackson Bain, Eileen Erstott, and our own Peggy Kellers.
Yes. Peggy's now been on the board for
Well,
about 4 months now, right?
it's
Maybe a
been
little longer.
since June, I believe, May or
Okay.
June,
Yeah,
so
okay.
about 6 months.
About 6 months.
But that's a good exchange of information because
Right.
they tell us what's happening from their perspective. And we've got to remember they're on the National Senior Campus side of the
Right.
house, not the Ericsson Living Management. So they tell us what they're doing, you know, what things they're planning, what they're working on. And we, in turn, talk to them about the residents, things that residents have brought to our attention, which we feel they should know about.
Right.
This year, of course, we've talked about the repositioning, the refresh, the construction. We will be meeting with them again because they're all here in December
Right.
to talk about the budget,
Yes.
you know, what they have approved for the budget
Right.
next year, and also to talk about, you know, any fee increases that we may see and
Right.
just what's happening in 2020
Right.
for Green Spring.
Very good. And the council really has a lot of input to the board in regards
Yes.
to meeting them, and with Peggy being our live-in director,
Right.
for us to be able to go to her and pass information along.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So it's a very beneficial discussion from our perspective.
Very good.
Yeah.
Some other issues that have come up, I understand, that you've addressed and dealt with quite appropriately.
Oh, let me see. Which ones are they?
The assistance with other communities.
Oh, yes. This is something that just caught me really kind of unprepared. I got an email from Roy O'Connor, who had passed my name on to Zena Jacques, who is on the Green Spring Board of Directors for, not the Green Spring, the Ericsson Board of Directors for the Midwest.
Okay.
And she asked if I would pass information on to the president of Tallgrass Creek, which is outside Kansas City.
Right.
They were wanting to do some training for their new council members, and they wanted to see our policy and procedures, you know, how we do things. So the first thing I did was I sent them our policy and procedures manual and just said, you know, read through it. If you've got questions, give me a call. Didn't hear anything back, so I assumed everything was okay and that they had, you know, gotten the information they needed as far as the training. And then several months later, in, when was it? April or May, I think, of this year, I had another call from Zena.
Wonderful.
And she asked if I would participate in a telecon that was being held with, again, Tallgrass Creek.
Right.
I always get that confused. And Windcrest, which is an Ericsson community outside of Denver.
Right.
And I said, sure, you know, I'd be glad to. They gave me a topic of candidate criteria for a resident council.
Oh, to find out how are you getting candidates
Right.
for the council.
Having
Oh,
what
wonderful.
it takes. So I spent some time just putting my thoughts down and went to this telecon. I didn't realize how many people were going to be on the other end of that TV. There were, oh golly, about 6 or 7 people, mainly from Tallgrass Creek. And we all had just a portion that we had been, you know, designated to talk about, from how does the board of directors and the resident council interface, which was very interesting.
Certainly.
We had folks talk about how to be a good council member, how to be a good resident, you know, what to expect from your council.
Right.
I talked to them about how our resident council is, you know, what it consists of. You know, the 3 officers, the 8 committees, the fact that we have the liaisons to the committees, how many committee members we have, that type of thing. I talked about the election process, which they were very interested in learning. Some communities actually do a nomination process where they have a meeting and residents stand up and nominate someone else to run for particular offices or particular committees. So I explained how that worked with us, talked to the qualifications that we have for our council members, the fact that they have to have been here and lived here at least a year, had a year experience on a committee. You've got to be computer literate because everything we do now is, you know, via computer and whatnot. So that discussion, they had allotted me 10 minutes, and I, of course, talk a lot more than that. So, you know, it was a lot longer. But at the end, they had some extremely good questions for all of us, and I found that experience very, very worthwhile.
Did they tape that so that you could use that with the council here or with other councils?
I believe they did tape it. I have not gotten a copy of that. I need to ask for it. But what I did recommend, because I saw the benefit of being able to talk with officers from other resident council. And I recommended that this be done a little more often and get various communities from the different areas to talk and just, you know, things that they're doing, projects that they have going on. Because I think that's very, very beneficial to get ideas from other people.
Yeah. Well, with both Tallgrass Creek and with
and
Windcrest, they're both undergoing construction also,
yes,
right?
Yes, they are.
Renovations.
Yes, yeah. They're developing communities, really, is what they are, and they're building entire new neighborhoods on, and that's where they were concerned because, you know, they've got residents who've been there for a while and new ones coming in now, and they were wondering how to interface them all. So it was a very worthwhile discussion.
Very good. Well, I mean, it sounds very progressive and the desire to share information and being able to get that input. I know the council's been working on such a thing for several years. And they've had the, I reckon it's a telecom conference with several councils a couple of years ago in regards to it. So
I just think it's something that needs to be done, and you know, maybe we just need to initiate it. Somebody has to stand up and do it. So perhaps the council next year can.
Maybe the vice president can do that.
Hey,
whoever that is.
But you know, it'd be something worthwhile. That's what I'm hearing you say. And the part that I really, you know, would appreciate knowing is, how can residents be good residents in regards to the council? Like, can the residents do to assist the council?
Exactly.
Because the council really is an intermediary between us and administration. And I don't think people utilize the council as much as they could in regards to that.
They do and they don't. Some people use us a lot, others don't. I think maybe they just don't realize what the benefit is from using the council members and that interface.
Either directly or through the committees.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this year with having the candidates' pictures up in each of the community
Neighborhoods,
buildings,
yeah.
and people having the bios, the short bios about them, they've learned more about the council members, the candidates this year, than they have in a long time in regards to it.
It's unfortunate that there wasn't an election because not enough people chose to run. I hope we can remedy that next year.
Yes.
A real election is very healthy for the entire community and the council
Right.
too.
Yes, it
But
is.
I'd like to encourage you, for all 11 of the council members to be interviewed or to have something out about them so that everybody knows who they are and be able to approach them more freely, hopefully, and share more information with them.
That's a good idea, yeah.
So, let us know if we can help in regards to that. Okay.
All right.
You also meet with the AEDs and the exec on a regular basis, don't you?
Yes. I'll let Terrence talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we have meeting, Betty and I and the secretary, Sandy, meet with Chandra and Melissa, usually both of them, sometimes one or the other, twice a month. And then Betty meets privately with Chandra another twice a month. And we just say what needs to be said.
Okay.
And they are very responsive and they're wonderful meetings.
Okay. And they share with you what's going on, some things you can't talk about because they haven't happened yet.
Right.
Yes.
But it's a collaborative relationship,
It's a collaborative relationship.
Very, very good.
And mutually respectful, and that works.
Okay. Being the president, you get a lot of phone calls, though, don't you, from the
yes.
administration?
Yes, I do. My husband screens my calls. No, I shouldn't say that.
No.
I let him answer the phone. But I do get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of stopping in the hallways after meetings. But I enjoy that because it shows that the residents have an interest in something and have an interest in letting us know what issues they are finding, whatever is wrong, that they want our help in taking some kind of action.
Great, very good. Both of you are involved with the Building Community Trust Committee, or just you, Betty?
Primarily Betty.
Just
Yeah,
primarily Betty, okay.
More so than Terrence. BCT is a wonderful staff committee is what it really is. And the BCT started, this was an initiative that Chandra had almost 3 years ago.
Right.
And she formed several committees. The Building Community Trust, the BCT, being the one that interfaces primarily between staff and residents. The others are, staff only, more or less. Leadership, training, that kind of thing. I've been with the BCT now probably 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And I tell you, the enthusiasm from these staff members is something I wish we could bottle and sell, because we really could use it. This past week, they had a week-long program that was absolutely fantastic. It started out with the Senior Vice President for Human Resources, who is also the chief of their diversity committee. His name is, where did I put it down? Oh dear. Joe Mashakoti.
Yes.
He gave a speech that first day, or a talk. It wasn't a speech, it was a talk, and it was the best thing I have ever heard.
Wonderful.
It's going to be, it was filmed, videoed, so it will be shown again, I know, on Channel 6 or Channel whatever it is now.
1960.
1960, yes. But if you get a chance, watch it, because this was a very vibrant person. He moved around that stage, and he just kept everybody's interest going. But that's just one of the things that the BCT does. They are also on December 7th, I believe it is, going to have, this is a Saturday, have a Santa holiday for the staff children.
Wonderful.
And for grandchildren and great-grandchildren of residents, if they would like to come. It's by reservation only, so you have to contact people.
And if they get the turnout like they did for Bring the Child to Work
Yes,
Day, I mean, what, 45 children came and
Yes.
saw what mom and dad do for a living?
Well, this is going to be more than, it's going to be quite a number of children. And we've got Santa's elf, who is one of our members of the council, is going to be there with a helper, you know, corralling the children to make sure they're behaving. They're going to have several workshops. Santa will be there, of course, our own Green Spring Santa Claus. It's going to be a fun day.
Very nice.
A really fun day. They also did in the, before school started, in August, they did a back-to-school backpack and school supply drive and gave out, more than 100 backpacks.
I was thinking it was 212. I thought the number I heard in regards to that.
It could have been. It was a very large number.
Right.
But to see the parents come and pick up those backpacks and some of the children come, it was just absolutely wonderful. So BCT is just marvelous. They are looking for greater support from residents. So if any of the residents are interested in volunteering to work with the BCT on a regular basis, have them give me a call.
Okay.
Or they could also contact Mary Sue Garner and let them know, because we need more resident participation on a regular
There's
basis.
what, about four or five residents now?
There are probably 6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
But we need more, and it's just, it's a great group to work with. I think the residents will enjoy volunteering. We always are looking for volunteers.
Okay.
And in fact, for the December event with the Santa, we could use extra volunteers. So if you're interested, residents need to let me know.
So let Betty know.
Also. Yes, please, yeah.
Well, you know, and with that, Chandra announced a couple of days ago about the fact there were other things that she's going to develop committees with between staff and residents that she wants residents really to participate in. So we need to be on the lookout for it.
Yes, yeah, and we certainly will let people know what's available and who to contact.
Great. You also meet with the regional vice president, right?
Yes. The 3 of us met on very short notice with John Mann, who is the regional director for Ericsson.
For the executives, he's a regional executive director, right?
He's Chandra's boss, is who he is. And we were given an hour time frame to talk, and I think we ended up talking, oh golly, almost an hour and a half.
Great.
I think he was late to his next appointment. But there again, we were talking about the refresh, the repositioning, the construction, because this was, when did we talk with him? About 6 weeks ago, so it was very recent. And he wanted to know the residents, how they were handling all this turmoil, especially over in Town Center. We talked about other issues that, you know, we just kind of did some brainstorming on. The big one, which I think a lot of residents are certainly concerned about, is the parking issue.
Yes.
We spent 15, 20 minutes talking about parking and what the issues were, just throwing out some options and ideas for how we could resolve some of these things. It's nothing that's going to be easy right now because of all the construction that's going on, but in the future.
Yes, Terrence.
Which reminds me that in the listening post sessions, since they're right outside the restaurants, I hear a lot of comments about dinner. A close runner-up is parking. Who's in my space? Fire marshal parked in my space, somebody said. And campus can't grow.
Right.
I mean, there's the limit, there's a fence there, and it's not going to grow.
We're landlocked.
We're
Yes,
landlocked.
we are.
So one thing that you mentioned, Peggy Keller, she gave up her car, and she goes all over, including to Baltimore frequently, and doesn't own a car. And Janice and I gave up our car a year ago. We donated it to Purple Heart Charities, veterans. And we are entirely satisfactory not having a car. We spread the gospel of you too can live without a car.
Very
good. I think if we could get even 10% of the people, the residents, to realize they don't need a car, then that would really help the parking situation.
Great idea, great idea.
I think the other thing that would help the parking situation are those that come with 2,
Yes.
or in some cases 3 cars.
Yes.
I mean, my husband and I came with 2 cars. We drove one, the other one just kind of sat. And we finally did what Terrence did. We gave it to charity because we don't need it anymore. I know that Kimberly Nelson, Philanthropy, is looking for how she can assist in doing that donation, because a lot of residents have brought a car and they don't use it. It just kind of sits there. It's
My wife and I did the same thing many years ago.
Yeah, and I think at some point we all have to be realistic. How often do we need 2 cars? You know, they're nice to have, but do you use both at the same time? And do you really need them? I think we're very fortunate with the transportation that we have available here, that you can get anywhere you need to without physically driving a car.
And now having the monitors up showing you where the GPS showing you where the shuttle is in regards to things. Very, very good. Well, it sounds like you guys have been in a lot of meetings. You've provided a lot of input in regards to what's going on. What is the one thing you would leave us with that you want residents to do that's extremely important for the coming year? Is there any one particular thing or a couple of things?
I would say interface with council members, either formally or just buttonhole people in the hallway and say, look, this is what I have in mind. What do you think? And interact. And also with, of course, management and with us also. And keep the conversation going.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
I think those are very good recommendations. What I would like to see is more resident participation in both the council and the committees and a lot of the other planned activities that we have throughout the year for the council, for residents, the resident-led activities. We just need more resident support. I mean, we've got a lot now, but there are still a lot of residents who don't join us. And I think they would find it very interesting and very worthwhile.
Oh, I would totally agree, having experienced it for a number of years in regards to that there's a lot of activities that go on. People say, well, I don't know what's happening. Well, get involved. You know, and if you get on a committee, you really find out about a heck of a lot of things
Yes, you
that
do.
are happening. And it's very rewarding to help one another.
Yeah, it is. And I think if residents have new activities, they need to bring those ideas forward. Because, you know, we will certainly help. The community resource team will help get activities started. We just need to take a step forward, I think. Bring newer people in.
Sounds great. Well, I greatly appreciate both of you being here, and I hope all the residents have learned as much as I have about all the things the council's done this year, and that you guys continue all the great work this coming year in regards to it. But most importantly, though, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Finish out the day. You know, enjoy the turkey, the ham, whatever, and enjoy the families, and just to get together and say thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.